Hello, I'm Greg Solomon. Now folks, about 2 or 3 months ago, I watched a video clip out here on YouTube entitled Atheist. And this video was uploaded by a fellow named Zach, something or other. And I made a mental note when I watched this video clip that I wanted to respond to it. Well, this is my response. I picked today to do this response for no other reason than the fact that I have the time and, most importantly, the inclination to respond to it. Let me preface this video by saying that this is not in defense. I'm not doing this in defense of any particular position. I'm not doing this in defense of Christianity. I'm not doing this in defense of agnosticism. I'm doing this video clip in defense of the facts. And I'm going to outline a perversion of those facts that I see in the atheist video clip, a perversion and an error that is so glaring that it actually makes the atheist video clip of none effect whatsoever. I will provide a link to this video clip so you can watch it, but I'm going to give a brief overview of it. Let me also say this, this video clip entitled Atheist that essentially promotes the position of atheism. When it was uploaded 2 or 3 months ago, YouTube saw fit to feature this video clip on their front page. And in so doing, this video clip has now received close to 250,000 views. Anyways, let me give you a brief overview of what this video clip contains. When you watch it, you don't see this Zach fellow who put the video clip out. You don't see him sitting there vlogging or talking to you. Instead, what you see is some text across the screen, and then it's accompanied by some images. The first thing you see, the first frame you see on the video, is a quotation from the Judeo-Christian Bible, specifically verse 1, chapter 14 of the book of Psalms of the Old Testament of the Judeo-Christian Bible, which states, this is what you see when you watch the video clip: "The fool has said in his heart, there is no God." And then Mr. Zach proceeds to show several images of self-professed atheists throughout history and into the present. And under each one of these images of these self-professed atheists, he gives a brief list of their achievements and scholarly endeavors. And then he says, according to the Bible, this person is a fool. And I'll show another image, and according to the Bible, this person is a fool. And I'll give you, I'll name some of these people that he shows: Isaac Asimov, Noam Chomsky, Thomas Edison, Marie Curie, Carl Sagan, and several others. He shows all these different people. Now, the word that comes, the definition that comes to mind when you hear fool is someone lacking in intelligence, a buffoon, and I hate to use this term, but a stupid person. I'm using that to illustrate my point here. But that's what comes to mind when you hear the word fool. And if that's what was being said in the Bible, then there might be some credence to Mr. Zach's video clip. However, that's not what's being said. Let me explain exactly what is being said. Now, I know some of you don't like to hear me when I say this, and a lot of you do like to hear me, but I'll say it nonetheless. Yes, the Judeo-Christian Bible is one of a variety of subjects, of which I'm quite knowledgeable. Now, having said that, let me say this. You must understand that the Judeo-Christian Bible was not originally written in English. Originally, the English word fool was nowhere in the Bible. It is a word that has been put in there by the translators. The Old Testament was originally written in Hebrew. There's a small amount of it that was written in Aramaic, but the vast majority of the Old Testament was written in Hebrew. And there are several words throughout the Old Testament, literally several, 6 or 7 words throughout the Old Testament that have been translated to the American word fool. And in the verse that Mr. Zach quotes, the word that was translated fool is the Hebrew word Nabal. Now, you can look this up in a library. You folks who are listening to this, you can go to the library and research this, or perhaps you can find a cross-reference English-Hebrew dictionary out on the internet. But you will see that the Hebrew word Nabal is used in chapter 1, chapter 14, verse 1 of Psalms. And that word literally means irreverent or morally deficient. It has nothing to do with a lack of intelligence or being stupid or being a buffoon or anything like that. It is the book of Psalms also, you have to remember, is a book of songs. You have to put it in perspective when it was written. It was written thousands of years ago. It was written between, the Old Testament was written between 500 and 1000 BC. The book of Psalms is a book of songs. That's what a psalm is. It's a song written by King David, who was king of Israel at the time. He was also a musician and quite interested in music. So if you look at the Psalms, at the beginning of each one of the Psalms, you'll see notations to the choir director that David put in there. Now, what these songs are doing are basically glorifying the Hebrew God Jehovah. And essentially, back then, in Israel, there were two types of persons. There were persons who believed and worshiped Jehovah, and those who didn't. And those who did not believe and worship Jehovah were considered irreverent and morally deficient people. So essentially, what this verse is actually saying, the literal translation of this verse, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. And the words there is were also added in by the translators. So essentially, we use the literal translation of the word Nabal. It is saying the irreverent person says no God. So essentially what David is saying in that psalm and in that verse is that irreverent people do not subscribe to a belief in Jehovah. And vice versa, those who do not subscribe to a belief in Jehovah are irreverent and morally deficient. Now, and that word, irreverent, morally deficient, has been translated a fool. Now, let me say to you that a person can be irreverent and be a genius. So, all these people that Mr. Zach is showing, these images of these people, these scholarly, erudite people that he's showing, there's no conflict with that in what the Bible's saying. Because the Bible's not saying if someone does not believe in God, they are unintelligent, stupid, or a buffoon. Because the word irreverent and morally deficient is actually what is being used. So, essentially, what the entire video clip, the whole premise of his video clip basically falls apart and crumbles. There's no premise to it because he has put this video clip together based on the false notion of what this verse is actually saying and what it means. He goes on to say that in this verse he quotes, there's another section of the verse he quotes, they are corrupt and have done abominable deeds. However, who is the they that is being spoken of by David in that psalm? You see, this is a common tactic of people, and in some Christians too, who will try to make the Bible say what they want it to say to promote their position. Zach failed to go on and read another verse or two into that same psalm, where it says in verse 3, there is no one who does good, no, not one. So this psalm isn't picking on atheists. This psalm is not saying they, atheists, are corrupt and have done abominable deeds. It is essentially saying mankind in general. Because as I said, if you read on into verse 3, you will see it says there is no one who does good, not even one. And that is in perfect synergy with the entire systematic theology throughout the Bible. If anyone knows anything about the Bible, that is the whole context of the Bible, that no one is good, no one has done good, no one is worthy. and everyone is in need of a Savior. And that is essentially the whole message of the Bible, that you cannot be saved by works. You cannot seek salvation or find salvation through works. So there's actually no conflict in those first 2 or 3 verses of Psalms 14 and in the achievements of these scholarly individuals that Mr. Zach has shown images of in his video clip. And it's not saying anything, as I said, against those individuals or any scholarly individuals. It's essentially an indictment of mankind, which is just part and parcel, as I said, of the systematic theology throughout the entire Bible. But as I said, the glaring error is the use of the word "full," and the Hebrew word has a completely and entirely different meaning than the connotation that you get when you hear the word "full." So the video has none effect, because it's not what the verse is saying. And also, let me say that these people that Zach, these images that he's showing in his video clip, he says that they are atheists. I would say that they are more agnostics. No one can say for sure whether there is a God or whether there isn't a God. You have to believe it, because there's no evidence for it. So you have to believe it, just as you have to believe there isn't one. If you want to be an atheist, you have to have just as much faith to believe to be an atheist as you do, I think, to probably be a Christian. You have to have essentially the same amount of faith, and that's what it takes, faith, because there's no evidence either way. So I would say all of these folks that Mr. Zach is showing are more agnostics than are atheists. As a matter of fact, even in their own words, Isaac Asimov, in one of his interviews, and you can look this up on the internet or in the library, Isaac Asimov said, "I don't have evidence to prove that God doesn't exist, but I so strongly suspect that he doesn't exist that I don't want to waste my time." Well, that's an agnostic. He can't prove that God exists or doesn't exist. He believes there's no evidence for it one way or another. Same with Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison made the statement, "I have never seen the slightest scientific proof of life after death or of a personal God." There's no proof. And that is, again, in synergy with the facts. Yes, there is no proof that there is a God. Carl Sagan, as a matter of fact, even called himself an agnostic. Carl Sagan, during an interview, when he was promoting his book, The Demon-Haunted World, he said that an agnostic is someone who doesn't believe in something until there is evidence for it. Therefore, I'm an agnostic. Carl Sagan actually had his definition of agnostic a little bit wrong. Basically, an agnostic states that it's impossible to know whether or not there is a God. So, I would say that essentially all these people, and anyone who doesn't believe in a God, is an agnostic, because they don't have evidence one way or another. And it takes just as much faith, as I said, to not believe as it does to believe. Something else I thought that was a perversion of the facts in Mr. Zach's video clip. With some of the text that he shows in the video clip, he says that 75% of the prison population in the United States is Christian, and only 0.2% of the prison population is atheist. Now, there again is a perversion of facts in order to promote one's viewpoint. I would posit to you that 75% of the prison population is not Christian. If someone is a true Christian, from what I understand of the Judeo-Christian religion, one of the main tenets of that religion is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if someone was a true Christian and truly believed in that concept, they would not find themselves in prison. Basically, I think what it is, when people check into prison, They have their social security number, they're filling out form, their eyes are brown, their hair is this or that, and what religion are you? And a lot of them will just, Baptist or Methodist or whatever religion they were raised as a child or had any affiliation with, or what their parents were, maybe their grandparents were, whatever religion they had any slightest affiliation with, they will put that down. And that goes into the Bureau of the statistics in the Bureau of Prisons. And so that's why you get that inflated statistic of 75% of the prison population is Christian. I posit to you that they are not Christian. And of course there's a lot of them that find jailhouse religion while they're in there. And likewise, the 0.2% of the prison population being atheist is another perversion of the facts. It appears as if you would think that a very small portion of people in prison are atheists. Therefore, you would go on to think that a very small proportion of atheists do anything illegal. Actually, a very small proportion of anything in this country, milk drinkers would be atheists. A very small proportion of coffee drinkers or cigar smokers would be atheists, because a very small proportion of the population are atheists. It just has to do with demographics. It says nothing about the ethics of a Christian versus the ethics of an atheist. So there are some very glaring errors in this video clip that he did, and as I said, essentially makes it of none effect. And something that I thought was very interesting, when Mr. Zach ends his video clip, he ends it with a quotation from Carl Sagan. That's the last image you see on the screen. And it says, "It is far better to grasp the universe as it is, as it really is, than to persist in delusion, however satisfying and reassuring." And that's a Carl Sagan quote. This is the same Carl Sagan who spent a large portion of his life trying to seek out intelligent extraterrestrial life in the universe. He was involved in sending unmanned spacecraft out with actually messages on board for perhaps an extraterrestrial that might find it down through the eons. Carl Sagan was involved in using radio telescopes in an effort to pick up radio signals from some advanced civilization. So, Carl Sagan says it is far better to grasp the universe as it really is than to persist in delusion, however satisfying and reassuring. And yet he persisted throughout his life in attempting to discover extraterrestrial life, for which there is absolutely no evidence for whatsoever. Now, there may very well be extraterrestrial life out there. There may very well be some intelligent life in some other planet or in some other galaxy. But we don't know, just like we don't know that there is a God. However, Carl Sagan chose to spend a large portion of his time trying to seek out and discover that extraterrestrial life. Why? Because that's something that Carl Sagan chose to believe in. He chose to believe that it might be so. He even said in an interview once that I have been captured by the notion of extraterrestrial life, and especially intelligent extraterrestrial life, since I was a child. And so it's something that he chose to believe in. It's something that he wanted to believe in, so he spent a portion of his time doing that. One could make a point saying that Carl Sagan was not very consistent in his belief system, because he certainly was not accepting, grasping the universe as it really is, but instead was looking and hoping for something as it might be with his search for extraterrestrial life. And I will leave this video clip at that, and I will let you make of it what you will, and you can go ahead and watch Mr. Zach's atheist video clip, and you can make of that what you will. Until next time, everyone, this is Greg Solomon saying take care.